and welcome to WindPower Monthly TV, delivering exclusive content on the big issues to the global wind industry. In this September edition, we look to a repowering project in northern Germany with a case study that demonstrates just how worthwhile it can be to replace old turbines with new turbines in order to generate more wind power in a more cost-effective way. Later in the programme, with an eye to future investment potential, we analyse our comprehensive wind power offshore intelligence data to reveal how offshore wind farms globally are expected to develop in the next 10 years. Stay tuned to hear about the increasing opportunities in this growing market.
Here I am in Schleswig-Holstein, the nesting ground of Germany's community wind projects. The region boasts an impressive display of turbines that can be seen on the road from Hamburg to Husum. Some of these models, installed in the 1990s, are now rather small in relation to current turbines. With modern technology and the ability to generate more wind energy more economically, some of these wind projects are now being repowered. We're here to speak to Hermann Albers, owner of the Simonsberg Wind Farm and president of the German Wind Energy Association. He was one of the early adopters of wind projects in the 90s and is now one of the first to repower.
I had installed 11 turbines with 5.5 megawatts in 11 turbines in totally. And now we have only 4 turbines, but with 12 megawatts. It are 3 megawatts per turbine. And the production of electricity is growing up from 14 million kilowatt hours per year up to 48 million kilowatt hours per year with the new turbines. That's a very big step.
Albers had to use his family agricultural farm to guarantee a bank loan for the first wind project, so he knows how important it is to make the project operation a success.
The most interest of a wind farmer is to have efficiency for driving wind turbines, and so he every time looks for longer blades, for more hop high to make it possible. And in 1993, as I bought the E40 with 500 kilowatts, the E40 was one of the biggest turbines. Because normally there are 300 kilowatt turbines in this time. And it was gearless. That was a new development out of Germany from Enercon, very specially. And I'm very interested in this new technology. And now, in 2012, one of the greatest turbines was 3 megawatt. It was the V112 from Vestas, and is one of the turbines with the longest blades and correct hub high, and so the efficiency on this land side will be very good. And after 2 years I can say it is very good.
Repowering is not just a case of removing old turbines and replacing them.
It's like the first step to going in wind energy. You can not using some old infrastructure. You have to build it always new foundations, new turbines, new cables, new grid connection and so on.
As well as the new turbines and balance of plant, the repowered project benefits from almost 20 years' experience across the industry. Most importantly, banks understand the investment potential and owners understand operating the project.
So as we bought the first turbine, we thought that the turbines were running well over 20 years, and we have only to pay the investment by the start of it. What we have to learn some years later is that we have to repair something, and there are costs of maintenance. And so we make some studies in Germany, not only for my wind farm, but for all the wind farms in Germany with the German Wind Energy Association. And what we learn is we have to invest another 60% of the first investment to running well over 20 years.
Long-term maintenance contracts are now also available.
And with this full contract, full maintenance contract, it was clear how high the costs for maintaining really is. And what we know today, the costs are around 1.3 euro cent per kilowatt hour.
Albers has found more benefits to the site than just fewer turbines.
I think it's better for the landscape and for the view to have only 4 turbines instead of 11 turbines. And it's also better to sink down the revolution from 40 to 14 per minute. And so it's for the view a little bit calmer. And the third one is that it is the noise is a little bit quieter. We make a lot of development in blade construction, I think so, and that's one of the big ideas, to make the blades longer, to make more production, but they are not louder.
Before considering repowering, Albers advises paying off all finance on the original site. His took 13 years, 2 years more than planned, through lack of knowledge of the technology and running costs. But with careful planning, repowering can be worthwhile.
The chance of repowering is to make more production of energy. That's very important for CO2, to bring in new technologies, to make noises better, to make the grid connection and the grid sensitivity, make it much more better. I think in another 12 or 15 years we will make another repowering. I hope so, because I think I set on a fast development of wind turbines, although in the future maybe we talk in some years over 6 megawatts or 7 or 8 megawatts turbines. So maybe it's the next generation here in Simonsburg.
The global offshore wind market today has 7 gigawatts installed, a large portion sited around the UK. But figures for projects in planning show a massive growth in the next 10 years, reaching 106 gigawatts by 2023. That would increase global capacity 14 times over. Realistically, we might expect 2/3 of that capacity to be built, still a great increase. These new projects will be bigger than we currently see offshore. At the moment, most offshore projects have a capacity of less than 250 megawatts, but 60% of projects planned for build in the next decade will be bigger than 500 megawatts in size. These larger sites are also going to be built further from shore. Right now, 85% of offshore wind developments are within 30 kilometres of the coastline. Of the new builds over the next decade, 10% will be further than 100 kilometres from shore, and another 35% still beyond 30 kilometres. As they move further from land, they will also be sited in deeper waters. 3/4 of offshore wind farms today are in waters no deeper than 30 metres, and the last quarter reach up to 60 metres deep. But, as you can see, 25% of projects to be installed by 2023 are planned for sites over 60 metres deep, deeper than all the current ones. Turbine sizes continue to grow. Only 4 years ago, 80% of turbines offshore were smaller than 3.6 megawatts. Then Siemens' 3.6 turbine pushed the range. Even now, that size has been overtaken, and by 2019 and beyond, 8 megawatts is the best bet for the largest offshore turbine. To round up this episode of WindPower Monthly TV, we hear from A2C about the challenges of installation in the offshore market that must be overcome to continue on this path to growth.
Offshore wind. It's key to the future of sustainable energy. But it's not all smooth sailing. Not yet.
Offshore wind farms are costly to install and to maintain. And these high costs can make fossil fuel alternatives look dangerously attractive. To add to the challenge, offshore wind farm projects are moving further out into deeper and rougher waters. Just imagine trying to build a 150-metre tall turbine weighing over 600 tonnes, 30 kilometres out to sea. There's a lot to consider, like the load-bearing requirements at dockside and on board the vessel. Unexpected waves and varying seabed conditions. And then there's the wind. Strong winds can quickly put a stop to lifting blades and other components into place, leaving expensive vessels and crews idle for days on end. Installing foundations and turbines at sea demands more than a vessel and a crew. It demands know-how. The know-how to prepare for the conditions and the speed and flexibility to adapt when they change. It takes experienced crews with careful coordination between land and sea. It takes an industry pioneer to manage the risks, achieving smooth running projects. Keeping the world focused on sustainable sources of energy has never been more important. But it takes a special kind of company to lead the way.
Well, that's all from us at WindPower Monthly TV. Thank you for watching and see you next time.